Good morning, everyone. I am Eringlenn, and I am the aimless squirrel. It is early in the morning. Everyone is still asleep, so I'm trying to be quiet. Today we are flipping the bird. They're thrift flips. Both have birds, so I think there's only two. Had to shorten it. I have had a lot going on, so the video is very, very late. But I will have another video coming out shortly, covering all of the things that we have been up to in our house and our backyard. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Alrighty guys, I got this at a thrift store for less than $1. All I really need to do is take that brass thing off the top because it doesn't really match with the rest of it. It's kind of new looking. I am going to clean it up, obviously, because it's pretty funky. I'm not really going to worry too much about the inner workings unless it becomes a problem, which I don't know why it would. So yeah, I'm just moving on. I took the thing off, I cleaned it up, and now it is time to get started on the bird and the nest. So this was in a bag of craft supplies at a thrift store. I think I paid a little over $1 for the whole bag, and there was quite a bit in there. It's kind of rough looking. I decided I really wasn't going to change out anything until it was all put together because, you know, it's all kind of rough looking. So I couldn't decide if it needed to be fixed up, cleaned up, or if it was going to look weird in that really old light fixture. So there was a little bit of surprise there for me. I wasn't expecting that springy thing on the inside. So I tried the wrong tool the first time, and then I went and got the right tool and clipped that off. The hat and some of her little, I guess, feathers need to be glued back down. They were coming loose. And then I took my hot glue gun, and this is boxwood. It's just a flower pick from Walmart. I think it was like $1.30-ish, something like that. And I just pulled off some of the pieces. And now I'm hot gluing those things first before I put my moss. I think it's Spanish moss that I put this time. So normally, and I'll talk about this later again because I use the moss again later. Normally, I actually really don't put too much. Some people would probably consider that I underdo the moss. But the reason for that is it collects a lot of dust, gets funky, and it's very hard to get the dust off of it. So I generally just try and avoid that problem by not putting a whole lot on there. So I just glued a big old wad of it down. So this is kind of my exception for not putting much because I did put quite a bit here. I didn't pre-make kind of a nest shape because, you know, there was kind of a bowl there. So it sort of sunk down a little bit, sort of made a nest shape anyway. I really have no idea where these little greenery pieces came from. I just kind of glued them haphazardly all over the place. And now I'm fixing my little bird, and I'm going to glue her right in the center of my little nest. Now later, I do go in and shove in some lavender from a lavender pick I got at Walmart and some other white thing. I don't know what it is. I think it's supposed to be baby's breath, but it really doesn't look like it. All right, so here she is in all her glory in her nest. And I think she's just so pretty. She is just a perfect spring decoration. I think you could easily leave her up during the summer as well. She looks great on a shelf, on the table, on the cabinets. Not cabinets, the counters. She's just so pretty. Okay, guys, I'm just butting in here to remind you guys to, you know, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment, send it on to people who might be interested, all of the things. They all really help my channel. And also don't forget to check out my link tree that is linked down below and see the other places that you can find me, including my Cricut design space. Alrighty, so second and last bird flip of the video. I got these two cuties at Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to use the Pink Cloud Waverly chalk paint I got at Walmart. It's my understanding that some Walmarts don't carry Waverly chalk paint anymore. I think you could still order them from like walmart.com or a few other places. So all right, anyway, so I believe I ended up doing 2 coats of the pink on there, and to me it's not just pink. I don't know, it's kind of antique-y pink or corally kind of pink. Anyway, I think it's a very, very pretty color. All right, so this is what they look like with a couple of coats. I missed part of the bottom on that one because that's where I was holding it and I forgot to go back and do it. So I kind of make my own white wax because the Waverly white wax is kind of yellow. So I want a brighter one. So I just mix some of the white chalk paint in there with the clear wax. And I like to use a sponge for this so I can really, push it in those little nooks and crannies, because that's really where I want them anyway, because as I wipe it down a little bit, wipe it back, those nooks and crannies is where it's really going to stay. I have found that it does work pretty well to just use the sponge itself to kind of wipe it back. I did go over it with a paper towel, and that was kind of a mistake. I did not seal the paint before I started, so it did pull some of it off. But I wanted to show you the difference between the waxed one and the just painted one. It tones it down a lot, and you can see all that white wax in those nooks and crannies. All right, I found this at the thrift store, and it's like a stool leg or something like that. I found 2 of them, and I've already used one of them, so I'm using the other one now. This was not really the right tool for that, so I did go and get the right tool for it. And one of them is going to go on top of that, on a little bit of moss. So this one turned out just fine. I debated going back over the eyes with white wax to, make those pop a little bit more. This one's the one that was kind of rough, so I do have to go back and fix her. She has a lot of places where the paint pulled off when I was pulling off the wax, and then that was also the one where I forgot to paint the bottom. So I did go back and fix her. This, I cleaned it up, and I did go over it with just 1 coat of Waverly white chalk paint. I mean, it was already white. It was just kind of dirty. So, all right. So there is my moss. I use Spanish and reindeer moss. I got them from Walmart. I cannot find, I know that Dollar Tree sells them, and I know that's a lot cheaper, but I often can't find them. So, and I also don't really like the color of the reindeer moss from there. So this is what I was talking about earlier. I just did not put much at all. It's just enough to give it kind of a little hint of it, I guess. A little idea that she was sitting on some moss and some greenery of some kind. Some nature. So I just put a little bit of the reindeer moss on top of the Spanish moss, and I kind of just fiddled with it in my hands and then laid it down with some glue. And then I glued her on top. And I am going to go around and trim that because I didn't want all the pieces sticking out quite that much. I wanted it to look a little bit neater. That was just a little bit too much for me. And I just had to cut out for a second to cough a little bit. So, all right, I'm back. Which, I didn't really need to say that because y'all wouldn't have known. But anyway, so continue to trim around that. I trimmed off a lot of the stuff that was hanging down because I just wasn't digging it. So, and I'm still coughing. Sorry about that. All right, so that's kind of it for that one. I do go through and seal it. I try and seal everything. I forget sometimes, but I remembered in this case. All right, so the other one, I didn't want it sitting up as high, so I just took this wood round from Hobby Lobby. I drew a circle around it, and I'm going to use that to guide putting on these little pieces of boxwood to make kind of a wreath for it to sit in. And I think I hear my son, so hold on a second. Okay, so like I said, I just used the circle there as a guide. My son is sitting by me. Okay, shh. All right, so I'm sorry. I just laid down a little bit of hot glue, just enough to do one, and I would, like I said, lay them on that circle, all going in the same direction. So I ended out with a nice, pretty, smooth looking wreath going around with just enough room for her to sit in. Hi. He's a chatty morning fella. All right, so that is what I'm continuing to do. Didn't realize I left this much of this in here. It did take me a minute to get that down. I don't know, I tried it once already, and I don't know, I didn't lay it down well or something. It was looking kind of funky, so I ripped it up and then did it again, and the second time it turned out just fine. All right, so putting in my last piece there, and then she is gonna go just right in the middle of that, so it looks like she has a nice smooth little nest or wreath that she just kind of nestles into. And I liked that, they definitely go together, but they're not the same. And so, you could use them together or separate or however you wanted to, really. Declan. All right. So there she goes. And she is pretty much finished now. Just have to seal her up too. And, pull off all the hot glue spider webs. That is, does anybody else have a love-hate?
Spider webs.
Does anybody else have a love-hate relationship with hot glue? Because it is useful, but I kind of hate it.
Spider webs.
All right, so they are already in my booth, and I will link that down below as well. And there they are. They just look so, so pretty. I was really very pleased with how they turned out. All right, guys, that is it for today. I hope that you really enjoyed these bird thrift flips. Hope you enjoyed flipping the bird with me. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Bye.